So obviously, for our wonderful audience, you are a new face,
Yes.
a beautiful
Not that new to me,
new
but
face.
to them is
Yes.
is
Yes, you don't have a
getting
new
older
face.
every day.
So I thought it'd be a good idea. I kind of want to do more of these kind of casual chit chat sort of stuff anyway, with the cast and stuff. But I thought it'd be a good idea to maybe start with you, Callum. I say start with you. I might not even put this episode out first, but I'm recording it first for the record, so that the audience can kind of get to know who you are before you join us in Defiance and Phlan. So tell them, I know, obviously, but tell the audience a little bit about who you are, your background, and, of course, your wonderful, glorious relationship with Dungeons and Dragons.
So, my name's Callum Robertson. I know Wayne from a good long while ago. We used to run around in tights together.
No more context is needed.
Yeah, in pantomime and other theatrical events at our local theatre. And then we went our separate ways off to university and such. We both ended up becoming actors. A few years ago, I moved from London up to Leeds with my now wife to settle down and be sensible and have a few years to get, a mortgage and all of that sort of thing. So I suppose this is sort of me dipping my toe back into performance of
just trying to reel you back in, Callum. You will not escape.
It's nibbling there. But when I left drama school in 2014, I was working on the side at a restaurant at the National Theatre. And obviously that's surrounded by actors and writers, dancers, directors of the future. And I had always wanted to have a go at Dungeons and Dragons, but somehow had never had. I'd done Warhammer. I'd been adjacent my entire life.
When we had a chat about a month ago, my jaw hit the floor when you told me.
Oh, when you said it was 2008, you said you started?
No, I started D&D around 3rd edition, like 3.5 specifically. Right. So that must have been, I don't know what year 3.5 came out. I don't know if actually 3.5 had come out when I first started playing, but they were the first books I owned, certainly. If I was to estimate it, I reckon it was 2003 that my first ever game happened.
2003, cool. So, yeah. So I could have had 11 more years of D&D in my life.
Well, I knew how much you were steeped in geek culture. That's what we bonded over a lot of the time. So I was shocked.
I realized, I was like, oh, I could have been doing this along. Oh, I could have been doing this longer. Oh, God,
I was DMing at the time as well, Callum. I could have been your
what could have
been. Indeed,
alternate timelines. So I wanted to start D&D. I mentioned it to people around, and if you ever meet an actor who isn't interested in D&D, they haven't tried it.
Agreed.
It's ridiculous that they were like, well, you get to be who you want to be, and you make your own character, and you can,
it is like wish fulfillment, isn't it, for most actors?
But then again, I suppose some actors you've got in this, like comedians, you get comedians that are good at who are funny off the bat and good can improv, and you've got some who are joke technicians. They write it, they prepare it. You get actors who are the same. You get actors that can just go and we're off, and then you get actors who are like, no, I need a month to come up with how am I saying this line. I talked to the people around me, and they were all really interested. And I was like, "Oh, okay." And somebody needed to be a DM because none of us had done it before. So that was why I said I'd do it. And we quickly started a campaign. The very first session we did was a pre-written sort of one-shot adventure-y thing that I got off, I think, DM Guild. And that immediately went off-piste.
as it's
and I had to improv most of it, and then we had a really good time.
Can you remember what adventure that was, out of interest?
I remember that it involved, they were in a city, and there were rival guild or clan / gangs in the city.
Okay.
But I don't think they were like criminal gangs. I think it was more like an established cartel sort of thing going on. More gangstery. They're in the politics as well, sort of vibe. But I do remember that they were the people were giants. The leaders of these things were both giants, and one of them's daughter had been gone missing, and we had to go and find his daughter.
Okay.
And it went so off the rails. They met a character who I think was a Leonin. I remember that he was
Leonin
because they decided. Yeah, so it was or something. Is
that lion? I'm not sure familiar with Leonin. Is that like lion folk?
They're Tabaxi adjacent. I believe they were officially introduced in Theros, but I think they were kicking around for a while, or something similar. Something similar was around, because I remember that he was, or maybe, to be honest, maybe I just made him a Lionman. I can't remember how much it had gone so off piece.
Oh, no.
I don't know how much. I know that
Leonin,
stack for him.
Page 20. I've dipped into my D&D library. Lionman. That's why I'm not familiar with it, because I think they essentially Theros, but I've never actually ran it yet.
I'm in a campaign at the moment that's the book that just happens to have come out a couple of years before they launched Theros. That's remarkably similar.
Oh, right.
Third party one called Odyssey of the Dragon Lords.
Ooh.
And it's quite it can be quite grim. Like the druid class in it is based around ritual sacrifice.
Nice.
That's a very cool one.
I like a bit of grittiness in my D&D.
It's a really it's one where it's the Titans, the old gods are returning. The truce of 500 years is coming to a close, and the world is about to go to pot. And you've been chosen by the oracles. And you're like, great.
What could possibly go wrong?
God, eventually.
Yeah.
So this one went way off piece. They murdered this Leonin guy. So at level, and then the cleric was like, he's wearing plate mail, could I take it off? So from then my level 1 cleric was walking plate mail on from the very first session. Then they decided they didn't trust anyone in the city and decided to leave the city, which is not in the thing. I was like, okay, I guess this is but we all had a really good time. And so I was like, do you know what, we're just gonna homebrew this as we go along. Mm-hmm. And it started off as a they sort of joined a ramshackle guild of which they were the only members, of adventurers,
right?
With a gnome who was their sort of manager, who was very much a sort of Dean Pelton from Community, Jim Rash sort of character. Not, very much. We're not the biggest guild in town. There's a big guild of bully adventurers, but we don't do the stuff because they've got no morals. And it became a sort of monster of the week kind of thing to start off with, and it ended up obviously building into we're fighting big evil druids who are trying to become gods and all of that sort of thing.
That is awesome.
And that ran until about 6 months before we left London.
Okay.
At which point I handed the reins over to my friend, who was a member of the party, because I wanted to play for a start. I'd never played apart from in one. But also I wanted there to be a nice, smooth sort of transition, so that I was still there and I could play if you had any questions, that sort of thing. You know, to DM. And then we moved to Leeds. Had a short-lived campaign that I played in when we arrived, and then we started it up again. And Rachel, my wife, who was in the original D&D group, it was the friend who'd DM'd, took taken over as DM, and we started playing with a friend from the previous group when we come to Leeds. So then there were 3 of them, and then a couple of the people, I think over lockdown, a couple of the people who had been in the group in London, they live in Edinburgh now, but due to the beauty of Discord and other sites, we were like, oh, we can have anyone in our group, because we sort of stayed playing online after lockdown because of it was just convenient, and we got better at it. It wasn't as difficult. And so I've been running that campaign for, I believe, we're into our 4th year now. Oh goodness!
Wow. Is that monthly?
Yeah, they're level. No, it's mostly weekly.
Wow.
They are level 16, and I am. Yeah, it's a challenge.
I was going to say, are you DMing that now? Are you back to DMing that?
Yes, I am DMing. It's
DMing a level 16 party.
It's a homebrew world, so having the God plus powers rather than just the God powers is helpful. If this were Lord of the Rings, then they would be riding to the Black Gate, I would say, in terms of we're well into the final chapter. I've got an addendum sort of bit of campaign for if they want to go up to level 20, as a sort of let's go absolutely ham and see what you can do sort of thing. But they've uncovered most of the mystery. I love a nice sort of twist that's sitting there in plain sight.
So do I. As everybody who watches Bardic Quest knows, so do I.
Oh yes,
that is my favourite type. My favourite type. I really took a lot of joy in revealing Halfdan the Wren recently.
Yes, I'm on that. I mean, this will be coming out after. I don't want to accidentally put spoilers in case people, for whatever reason, are watching this out of order and trying to catch up on the old quest. But no, it's actually inspired. I started running a beginner's campaign for some new people in person in Leeds recently. Partially because, having only really done homebrew, I wanted to start running like written adventures, because I realized, though I really enjoy the homebrew and I like the freedom that it gives me, it means that I'm not experiencing a load of these incredibly well-written adventures that are out there. I want to run Curse of Strahd. I want to I want my players to have a go at those as well. And I found I've been running the beginners campaign. I've been running Lost Minds of Fandalva, and it's been really interesting watching, because obviously you're way ahead. They are just now in Phandalin, where we are. So they've just met a lot of the major NPCs.
Nice.
But obviously I'm way ahead in terms of watching Bardic Quest for tips and tricks. But no, it's really good in terms of going, oh yeah, that's interesting how like, so certain characters that you've tweaked in terms of their ulterior motives and such. I've got some ideas for other NPCs with them. I was like, ooh, they'd make a good black spider.
Right.
Like,
this is what I love about.
Like, can you imagine all this time when the accent drops? You know, and
I mean, that's what I love about Lost Mine, and I kind of like the fact, in a way, I kind of like the fact that the actual Black Spider in the adventure is really quite bland, because it's almost like the writers are kind of going, this is just the person we've put there, but really, like, do something cool with it.
Do something there, because otherwise he is, is me.
Because what if old Barthen from Barthen's Provisions was the Black Spider?
That would be, I think,
that would be cool.
Barthen's Provisions in my version would be the most surprising one. That would be you're really a master, because like he's giving Ned Phlan vibes in my version. So for him to go from Ned Flanders to Hank Scorpio would be pretty.
There's just so many good little nuggets in Lost Mine that are kind of like laid out in a way that's kind of okay. I love the published adventures that Wizards of the Coast put out, but I'm not necessarily a fan with the way they lay the adventures out and the way they write those adventures. Not necessarily in terms of the story. I think the story's good. I think actually gameplay is mostly good. But they do a lot of kind of like... they assume that you assume a lot of things when they're putting things into those adventures.
It's made for an experienced DM.
Like all of the published adventures, very much made for experienced DMs to be able to go, ooh, there's something to play with here. Like the doppelganger stuff. It's like, there's these doppelgangers kind of floating around, not really doing anything, and it's like, well, you could do so much with those. So that was something that I was like, I'm going to play around with that because that's a lot of fun. You know, and if there's one thing I really enjoy doing as a dungeon master, it is fucking with my players. And if you want to fuck with your players, doppelgangers are the one.
My play. If I there's a smile I can't repress. That I mean, obviously my wife knows it incredibly well, but all my players can recognise it, and they will just start swearing at me if that appears. Be like, "Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing?"
There was a point.
Like, during... this way, I'm like, "You can try."
There was a point during Bardic Quest, this campaign, obviously, as we're starting to prep for season 2 next year, which will be fun because that will be homebrew. The first time I've done a homebrew in 5e. It's weird because I was kind of solely homebrew in 3rd edition, and then when 4th edition came, I kind of started going down published adventures routes because I didn't really fully want to invest in 4th edition, which we won't go into. And then 5th edition, I kind of stayed on the published adventure track because I was quite enjoying it. So it'd be nice to go back to homebrew. But anyway, I digress. There was a point during recording, I think it was about maybe around episode 50-ish, when the cast started going, what are you up to right now? Because I don't really trust you anymore. And I was like, my work here is done. Like that is the point at which I want all my players to get to, where everything could be a ruse. Everything won't be a ruse, but everything could be a ruse. And that's when it gets really fun for me.
I think because obviously there's a lot. Being a DM is a multi-skilled role in that there's a lot you have to consider. You have to be able to decipher or plan, the sessions. You have to be able to table manage both characters and players. I think one of the most difficult aspects to get right, and I think some people might be able to do it straight away, but I think it largely comes with time, is being able to find the balance of being the false antagonist. Yes. I mean, I think someone that does it remarkably, if you were to hold up someone that everybody knows, is Brennan Lee Mulligan.
Mm-hmm.
Like none of the players ever think Brennan is trying to murder my character because he doesn't like my character.
Right.
But once he goes into bad guy mode,
yeah,
he will cackle at them as he's moving guys in to attack them, and at no point does it ever feel like a per attack or that he wants my character to die. He's like, no, he's just being the false antagonist.
That's it. I think the balance to strike is, and this the way I always word it to people when I'm talking about DMing is being willing to kill a player character. You have to be willing to do it. It's not so much that you have to want to do it, but you have to be willing to do it. And that kind of solves a lot of those problems, because if you're willing to do it, it means that you are going to play the enemies optimally. And if the dice go the way the dice go, then that's fine.
Yeah.
But also
and I think that's,
being able to root for the players the entire time.
I think there has to be. I think it's part of. There is. I can't remember the name of the YouTuber. It will come to me. He created something called the player's contract. I think he called it. And it's a sort of the sort of unspoken binding agreement between player and DM about the roles that they're going to play. And part of it is table etiquette and stuff, but part of it is that investment in. That the DM is both your friend, your enemy, and neither and both. Like it's that they're not, like you say about being willing to kill a player. I always say to them, it's like, I'm not trying to kill your players, but nor am I trying to keep alive.
Exactly. It goes back down to that really basic thing of where the Dungeon Master kind of originally stemmed from, which is the Dungeon Master is the referee. They are serving the rules of the game and the story of the game. They're not serving the players. And I think it's interesting how sometimes the waters get a little bit muddied when you read things online about, you know, the Dungeon Master being in charge of everybody's fun and things like that. And it's like, to a degree, yes. You know, you don't want to have a dickhead DM who's just there to stroke their ego, of course. But it's not really the Dungeon Master's responsibility to ensure you have fun. It's the Dungeon Master's responsibility, in my view, to ensure that you are included and that you are part of the game and that you are allowing everybody else to do so. It's about facilitating the collective fun rather than the individual fun, and I think that's where the waters get a bit muddied. I think that's when people start going down this route of like, well, the DM shouldn't be killing my characters, and it's like, well, that's not. I
think it's the great power, great responsibility thing. Yeah. We like when we first moved to Leeds, we met a couple who played D&D, and we thought, maybe we can get a game started, and the guy was keen on running a campaign. And so it's like, I'll get in touch. And we're having a chat, and he was telling, sharing D&D stories, and every story he told, a little red flag went up. He started talking about, we did this sort of 48-hour over the weekend D&D campaign, where D&D session, and after 17 hours, one of my players rage quit and walked off because they realized that for 17 hours I'd sent them walking in circles. I was like, for 17 hours? That sounds like something that was designed for your enjoyment and not for theirs. And he was bragging about character deaths, I was like, a DM shouldn't gain satisfaction from a player.
I'm horrified at the prospect.
I was like,
I'm willing to do it, but I'm horrified.
I think I said to him at the time, I was like, well, of course you can kill, like a DM killing player characters isn't impressive. God.
This is the thing. So this is what I say about being bound. Your responsibility. It's like being responsible. Yeah. It's like in episode 3 when Obi-Wan says, the Jedi are bound to the Republic, not its leader. And it's the same thing with DMing. You're bound to the rules, not the Dungeon Master. Because if the Dungeon Master is playing within the rules, then killing off characters is not something that should be happening frequently.
No.
If we're honest. But at any point, a Dungeon Master can slam down a Tarask in front of a party of level 3 characters, and that's it. Like, one notch on my TPK belt.
I've only had in the near decade that I've been DMing on off. I've only had 3 character deaths.
Mm-hmm.
Only 2 of them were permanent. The most recent one, they were level 12. So they're like, we just need enough diamonds. Yeah. We just need a big enough diamond.
Yeah.
And yeah, at that level, death becomes an inconvenience.
Yes.
But the only 2 character deaths we've had were the same player, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
In different games. One was, I say unavoidable. It was definitely avoidable for the character. Mm-hmm. The character did not need to climb over the side of the ship the airship that was above a sea of acid.
What could possibly?
That's not a safe place to engage the enemy, to be honest.
No.
That's putting your hands in the dice. Both in the hands of the dice, but. And then the other one was in combat. There were only 2 of them there. That when we had a 3-person party. Mm-hmm. One of the players had Crown of Madness on them, and a lot of stabbing occurred. Turns out the person you really don't want to have Crown of Madness when they're next to you is the rogue. It's not good. With a rogue with an incredibly low wisdom score.
Not good.
Yeah, but
I have found consistently. Sorry, go ahead.
It was. We all had an emotional release when it happened. Do you know what I mean? It was.
It's a big moment.
Yeah, and there was never a thing of, oh, you've killed my character.
No.
The most they could hope for is they had a memorable death. No one wants to go down to a rogue goblin arrow. Do you know what I mean?
No.
You want to fall into a sea of acid or be stabbed to death by your friend, or because then it's that character now has trauma. Like, she's got her character's got such baggage.
This is the thing, though, right? And this is why I don't understand the allergy to character death, and the like. A couple of things. Like, I have found consistently that the best way to kill off player characters in 5th edition is to have them do it themselves. Is consistently, like, the closest I've come to TPKs have come from bad choices from the players, not necessarily from superior tactics from the Dungeon Master. Never should as a DM put in something where you go, oh, well, yeah, this would absolutely destroy them. But they'd never be stupid enough to do that. I had that recently, and I was shocked. This was my home game that's been running for 6 or 7 years now. I had that exact scenario, where so confident was I. I've talked about this on one of the Q&As on the Patreon. So confident was I that they were not going to engage with the thing. I didn't even read the stat block before the session.
Oof.
Like, I was that confident that they wouldn't dare. And then one of the players quite rightly said to me, "You've been playing with me for 6 or 7 years now. How did you not see this coming?" I was like, yeah, that's fair. I probably should have absolutely seen that you would try something. But yeah, the other thing I was going to say was that... hang on. No, I've lost it. It's gone. It's gone into the ether.
Putting players in scenarios where they might they'll kill themselves. You hadn't read the stat block.
Yeah, no, it's gone. It's gone.
No, it's gone. It's gone.
It's gone. But what I because we'll wrap up in a mo. But what is it for you that, because you say you've now been playing for about like 10-ish years.
Yeah.
Which is still, I mean, even by modern standards, that is still pretty. Most people, I would say, most people that play D&D or are new to D&D have been playing for about 5 years on average, anecdotally, from what I can see. So you're certainly a 5th edition veteran.
Yeah, well, I think fifth
edition
edition had just come out when I started playing.
So kudos. But what is it about Dungeons and Dragons that's kept you hooked?
Well, I think part of it is I love the improv on it. I'm a very both my DM style and play style is very improvisational in terms of, oh yeah, let's see what happens. I do prep, but so often the prep stuff that's the safety net kind of thing. That's if the improv doesn't take us where we want it to go, sort of thing. You know, that's the safety door.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy that. It comes down to, I'm a big board gamer as well. I enjoy even if it's virtual, sitting around a table with friends and playing something. The communal aspect's a big one for me. I enjoy the performance side of it. I often play big characters. My campaign has its serious moments, but it's a comedy with serious moments, if you know what I mean, rather than super gritty. There's that whole thing of you can the DM can plan the heist, but the players choose the soundtrack kind of thing. Yeah. And we have a serious plot with characters from a comedy, you know, in it. A bit like, you know, the D&D movie. The stakes are high, but the characters are silly, but real. And so I very much enjoy. I've always enjoyed big characters. Going back to when we did Panto and things like that. I enjoy a big ludicrous character. I think the character we've sort of in the works for Bardic Quest are less ridiculous than I'd usually go for. But I'm playing a more grounded character in my current campaign as well, and I do enjoy those moments where your characters, you know, realizes, oh no, I this is something I feel strongly about, and they you know, they put their foot down, and they something comes out of your mouth, and you go, okay, yeah, and you feel flustered afterwards, and you go, oh, this game's affecting me, like I'm just sat around the table with friends.
And that's actually just reminded me what the other thing I was going to say was actually.
But it's that thing, if you go, this has like I am being affected, and I think
the character then
is,
evolves with that.
Oh, it's fantastic. So, like my character in this Greek one we've got started as a 16-year-old son of a sort of Spartan adjacent family who doesn't want to be a soldier. Not because he's a coward or anything like that, but he's that guy. He's the nerd in the family of jocks, kind of thing, and he just doesn't like it. And so he's run off to become a cleric, and straight away he's now become part of the group of warriors who are going to save it. And he still tries to. He doesn't particularly. I don't know if he's stabbed anyone yet. I don't think he's actually used his sword.
Right.
Not out of not wanting to do combat, close combat, but just he's got better options.
Yeah.
He's better than that kind of thing. He's still got that chip on his shoulder, but there's a load of stuff I hadn't really thought. He's the only human in the party. A lot of them are of the native races of Thylea, I think is the name of the place. So they're all sirens and nymphs and this sort of thing. And so it's been really interesting to play this character who's experiencing a lot for the first time and has got a load of insecurities about stuff. People don't listen to him because he's 16 years old. And there's been several moments around the table where you get emotionally affected by it. And then you've got the highs, of course, of when you come up with that idea. A little plan comes into your head and you go, could we do this? And everyone goes, ooh. And you go, yes. It is that rush. And 10 years on, you get a very different experience from DMing to playing.
Oh, very different.
I love both of them. Some people can only do one, and I completely understand that. Like, I was very happy DMing, and then every now and again I get to do a one shot on my birthday, I get to play or something like that. But to be properly in a campaign and properly having a character that's allowed to develop, because that's something that can be hard for a DM, because players can discard NPCs very quickly.
And also, there's the NPCs that appear out of nowhere that become key players.
Immediately are in Lost Mines of Phandelver. I think 2 sessions. No, it's end of the first session. They'd already got their pet goblin.
I feel like everybody claims a pet goblin.
Everyone claims a pet goblin. Tip for DM. Like, it's good to have a list of names that you can pull out of the ether if you have characters and they ask, they suddenly ask the name of the shopkeeper that you've just invented, and you need to come up with a name. The most important name you can have written down is a goblin name.
100%.
Goblin name, because they will.
It's the first name list I ever came up with.
Yeah. Mine's called Scruff.
Aww.
Yeah,
it kind of makes him cutesy. Is he cutesy?
But then, unfortunately, they started asking other.
You see, and this is where it gets out of hand. You see.
Yeah, and I hadn't got those prepared, which is why one of them was called Queef. He died. Yeah, the rogue got a bit stabby on Queef.
Yeah. Man.
That's why you got to write these names down, because otherwise whatever's swimming around there will come to the fore, and it's the only name you can see.
And sometimes you don't even realise what you've just said either. Yeah. And I feel as though goblin names are the ones that are most at risk of going terribly wrong.
Oh yeah. Because because they're filthy little boys.
Yes. Exactly.
Filthy little boys.
Exactly. Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you, Callum. I think this will be interesting for everyone to kind of get to know you a little bit before you make your appearance in Defiance in Phlan. For the record, we still don't. Well, you probably do, but we still don't really have your character yet. So no. I'm going to be as pleasantly surprised as everybody else when I find out what you're.
Yeah, no, we've got it. I've got. With it being such a short spell, you don't want to, and them being level 1, you don't want to steep them too many. The amount of times someone's handed me a 3-page backstory for a level 1 character, and it turns out that all the most interesting things they'll ever do in their life were before the campaign started. He's got a fairly simple, understandable backstory that just leads to why is he adventuring. But I'm looking forward to. I've left a lot open because I think the backstory isn't who they are; it's where they've been and what they've done. I think you only really find out who they are once they come alive at the table and once they start interacting with the other characters.
100%.
I'm really, really looking forward to that. It's particularly with your esteemed your esteemed members here at Bardic Quest. I've been very much enjoying catching up with Lost Minds. It's been really nice to get a little insight into them as players. You know, the sort of vibe, because that helps as a DM. You play lots and lots of characters of lots of different tones, and you have to sort of match, you know, the energy around you. So hopefully I can do that, and come in and complement rather than clash in a disruptive way.
I have faith in you, Callum. I have all the faith in you. But yeah, so thank you for this little chat, and I hope the community will welcome you with open arms and see what you get up to at the table going forward.
I can't wait. Really looking forward to it.
Really looking forward to it. Thanks, Callum.
Thank you very much. See ya.